Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Snohomish County Council District Number 1. I'm your moderator, Jody Troutwine. I'm the outgoing Voter Services Chair of the Snohomish League. These candidates for County District 1 are Nehring and Nicole Ng-A-Qui. The League thanks all the candidates for running for office, for their willingness to serve the community if elected, and for participating in this forum. It is the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. We do take positions on issues which we've studied and on which we have reached consensus. The ground rules for this forum were sent ahead of time to all candidates. Let me briefly explain the question and answer period rules. Opening and closing questions have been shared with the candidates. Other questions have not been shared. However, we made each candidate aware of issue areas this forum was likely to cover. And we thank all the community members who sent us recommendations about local issues. I will pose the questions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. 90 seconds will be allowed for answers to the final question. And I will state this change just before that clearly. We are using a countdown timer visible to all candidates. It shows elapsed time and alerts the candidates when there are 15 seconds left and when time is up. Time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. When you see the timer turn red and hear the chime, you are done. I will change the starting order for each question, alternating between the candidates to ensure a random and fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Mr. Nehring and then Ms. Ng-A-Qui. Let's begin. The first question goes to Mr. Nehring, and that is, what qualifications and experience make you a strong candidate for this position?
Well, first off, I want to thank Nicole for being here. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this important forum. I think when considering the qualifications and experience that makes me a strong candidate, the best thing to do is to look at my track record. I've been on the county council for over 4 years now, and I'm really proud of some of the things that we've been able to accomplish together here in Snohomish County, whether it's the North County Embedded Social Worker Program to address issues of homelessness and addiction, or the Regional Apprenticeship Pathways Program, which connects our youth with promising careers in the trades, or our Snohomish County Broadband Action Team, which seeks to bring reliable internet to underserved areas throughout the county. I've been so blessed and fortunate to be a part of a team that's doing really good work here in the community, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue that work. I'm also honored that my campaign has received the bipartisan endorsements of over 150 local leaders and community organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Ng-A-Qui, the question again is, what qualifications and experience make you a strong candidate for this position?
Hi, I'm Nicole, and also thank you for having us on tonight. I am a professional natural resources management major and worker. I have a lot of experience in the field, several different jobs. I'm a team player. I'm a listener. I know my so I can relate to a lot of different people. I'm a country person. I know Snohomish County has a lot of open spaces, rural residents, and I can also go in town and relate to those people as well. I know the issues that we face, and I'm ready to tackle that and get input from the community and work with a team to get a lot done. Thank you.
Thank you. And when we have two candidates like we do today, always a question goes back to the same person in order to give the turn taking. So this second question comes back to you, Nicole. What are the biggest challenges facing the county and what are its greatest strengths?
So I see some of the biggest challenges. There are several. Homelessness and drug addiction, I think, is on the top of the list. I also see the environmental degradation as a problem as rapidly as Snohomish County is growing, and if we don't grow right, we're going to have some serious environmental issues to face. And infrastructure also is something that has come to light. You can hardly get around in some areas like Smoky Point anymore. The traffic is so bad. So those are the top three, I think, that first come to mind.
Okay, thank you. And that same question to Mr. Nehring. What are the biggest challenges facing the county and what are its greatest strengths?
I think the biggest challenge that I hear when I'm out talking with residents of North Snohomish County is homelessness and addiction and mental health and kind of all those interwoven issues. And I think one of the things that we've been able to do, or I should say part of our biggest strength, is our ability to work together. And on that issue in particular, there's been some great examples of that. And I'll give just one. The cities of Arlington and Marysville, along with the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office and Snohomish County Human Services, were able to work together with myself and others to establish the law enforcement embedded social worker program to address homelessness and addiction. And essentially what that does is it partners up law enforcement with social workers who go out into encampments and work to get folks connected to key services, whether it's detox, treatment, housing, job training, and get them back on their feet and into a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. And so I think that's our biggest challenge, but also our greatest strength is that ability for the county and cities and tribes and nonprofits and community members to all be able to work together to find some common sense solutions to these difficult challenges we face.
Okay, thank you. And this next question is a little related to some of the answers you all have given, but I think there's more that can be said, so you'll have more than a minute this way. Back to you, Mr. Nehring. What initiatives would you support to address homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, and mental health issues?
Yeah, great question. So I just touched on the law enforcement embedded social worker program. I think this program has shown really great success in just the first couple of years. There's been hundreds of people that have been served. And through this program, we're getting people off the street where folks are struggling with homelessness or addiction or a mental illness, and we're getting them into a program where they're going through detox, inpatient treatment, or medicated assistant treatment, and then eventually into short-term housing, long-term housing, and job training down the line. So that's a great example. A couple of other things that the county has made significant investments in on the capital side, I would point to the Diversion Center, which opened up a few years ago on the county campus, the Carnegie Resource Center, which opened fairly recently and has resources available for folks struggling with these issues. And then I had an opportunity just last month to tour the newly renovated Denny Juvenile Justice Center. The renovation included two 16-bed facilities for folks who are in need. And so those are just a few examples of some of the good work that's being done to help address these issues.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we'll move to Ms. Ng-A-Qui. And the question is, what initiatives would you support to address homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, and mental health issues?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said, and I support that as well. I feel like the homeless people would need to be treated with dignity, provided a place to live. If they could have a community garden and something to give them a value and worth to their life, I think that helps, in addition to the services that the county is willing to provide already. And again, help them get back on their feet. Everyone's problems are different, and not everybody needs the same or is going to have the same remedy. And so to treat people as an individual and get them the services they need, and try not to keep it long term would be great. But yeah, I appreciate what's going on in the county and fully support that and more.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we'll toss it back to you again, Ms. Ng-A-Qui. And the next question is, what measures would you support to keep housing options affordable in Snohomish County? Also a bit connected to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, affordable housing is a big issue. I think a lot of people are barred from purchasing a home because prices are just through the roof. I feel like we need to increase homes where it makes sense. So planning accordingly, not building just kind of wherever people have bought land. I've seen a lot of that where a developer has just purchased land, and so now we have to change the zoning. I think we need to stick better to the plans that have been made in the past, and make sensible adjustments, and not just where someone happened to purchase. And but yeah, we definitely do need to increase the number of houses, and I think that, and then jobs as well. People need to be paid a wage that can support a mortgage payment. So,
Thank you. And then that question to you, Mr. Nehring, what measures would you support to keep housing options affordable in Snohomish County?
Yes, I think to keep housing options affordable in the county, we really need to be thinking outside of the box on different policies that we can implement. And so One example of something we've done recently is an accessory dwelling unit ordinance, which was passed by the county council. And what that means for folks who don't know is it's basically a mother-in-law apartment. So if you have a single family home, you're able to add either a detached or an attached accessory dwelling unit for, say, an elderly relative, or maybe if you have a child who's graduating high school or college and needs somewhere to stay before they are able to move into their own place. And so that's a great opportunity that's just recently been implemented. And then a couple other things I would add, right now the cost for building a house is increased by about 25% just because of the regulations that exist. And some of that's at the local level, a lot of it's at the state or federal level. But the more that we can address these regulations and streamline the permitting process, the more that we can drive housing costs down.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to move to you again, Mr. Nehring, on this question. What are the issues, if any, in the county arising from the pandemic? How would you address them if you believe such issues exist?
So one issue, which I think has really been highlighted from the pandemic, it existed before, but I would point to rural broadband access. When the shutdowns originally occurred, you had children who were learning from home, you had parents who were working from home, and then a whole host of other things were being done from home, like telemedicine. And that's all good and well if you've got reliable internet service. But for a lot of folks in rural areas of Snohomish County, they either don't have reliable internet, or in some cases, they don't have any internet at all. And so as you can imagine, that makes it incredibly difficult for kids to learn online, for adults to work online, or for telemedicine and other things. And so I've been proud to champion our Snohomish County's broadband action team. We've been working very closely with the State Department of Commerce's broadband office, along with our state and federal representatives like Congresswoman Del Bene. And our goal is to bring home a lot of the federal and state money, which has been passed to broadband, and bring it home to Snohomish County to expand some of these projects and bring internet to more of our rural areas.
Thank you. And Ms. Ng-A-Qui, the same question. What are the issues, if any, in the county arising from the pandemic? How would you address them if you believe such issues exist?
Yeah, that's excellent. I know the broadband. So I've got kids in school right now, and we had to be at home with 3 kids on the computer all day long. And so the broadband is a great issue, I think, to tackle. And I'm glad they're doing that. Another issue is the small businesses. They suffered tremendously through the pandemic. Many of them closed their doors. And I would support the small businesses, whether it's through direct federal dollars that we've been given, or forming contracts to help move their goods and services through the community. But small businesses took a tremendous, like I said, hit, and I know they need support.
Thank you. All right, and back to you, the next question. What is your strategy for working productively with your council colleagues and members of the public whose ideas are different from yours?
Sorry, diesel truck. I am, like I said, I'm a team player. I'm a good listener. I work well with other people. My house, I have someone on the complete opposite spectrum, political spectrum, that I live with in my house, and we make it work. So I'm well accustomed to dealing with people with having different diverse ideas. And I've been in the room when these discussions are going on. I've worked for the city of Seattle and Bellevue and Redmond, and been part of those discussions where there's a lot of different solutions, but we need to come together at the table and figure out what's going to work and the solution, and not just keep attacking each other. That's not my style.
Okay, thank you so much. And this question to you, Mr. Nehring, what is your strategy for working productively with your council colleagues and members of the public whose ideas are different from yours?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think it's really important, and it's actually very helpful for me when I have the opportunity, whether it's a fellow elected official or a community member, to hear a different perspective. It helps me to think about issues in a different way, and really helps me to form my judgment on a particular decision that might be made. And so I've really enjoyed getting to work on the county council, where almost 95% of the votes we take are unanimous, and they're bipartisan the vast majority of the time. And so we're able to work very well together. And it was an honor. Last year, I had the opportunity to serve as the council chair. And so working closely with my colleagues, I was able to earned their trust and was elected unanimously by both Democrats and Republicans to that position. And then just one other story I'll share briefly. I was invited a while back to speak at a Stanwood Democrats meeting. And, you know, as a Republican, that can be somewhat nerve-wracking, but I was just really impressed with how respectful everybody was. And it was really an honor to do that. And since being invited, I've had the chance to go back. And so I really appreciate that opportunity for bipartisan dialogue.
Thank you. All right, and we flip the next question to you, Mr. Nehring. What are the most pressing environmental issues our county faces, and what would you propose to address them?
Yeah, great question. I think the first one that comes to mind in terms of environmental issues is going to be land conservation. So we live in a beautiful area, I think the most beautiful area in the country, and that's why a lot of us choose to live here in Snohomish County. We've got the mountains, the ocean, the forests, our farmland. And I think it's really important that we work hard to preserve that, particularly during this time where we're seeing just a ton of growth coming into the Puget Sound region. And so I think whether it's TDRs, land conservation efforts, purchasing open space, which the county regularly does, any opportunities that we can take as a county to ensure that we're preserving farmland, forests, and other areas, building recreational opportunities for our citizens is really important, that we have that balance. So it's not just all about housing, it's not all about jobs, but we balance everything, the housing, the jobs, and the environment.
Thank you. And we'll move this one over to Ms. Ng-A-Qui, excuse me. And that is, what are the most pressing environmental issues our county faces, and what would you propose to address them?
And again, Nate and I see a lot of things eye to eye. I think the environment is, the open space is key. I know, and with the growth, we're going to have to be very deliberate about what is preserved and how it's preserved and how it's used. One of the biggest things I've seen when a developer comes in and I know we need the houses, and developers have to earn their living and do their stuff too, and that's fine. I appreciate that. But at this point, the codes allow them to just raise the land completely and take everything down. And I think one of the first things I would do is encourage tree retention, because trees are what keeps us cool. Like when it's hot in the summer, we want to go stand under a tree. And if we've cut everything down and put pavement on, we're radiating all this heat into the atmosphere and around us. And so those heat bubbles that we've been suffering from all summer long is largely because we've completely eliminated our tree canopy.
Okay, thank you. And the next question then starts back to you, and that is, what should be our county's plan to deal with existing or potential racial inequities?
I know that as far as presenting diverse employees in the county and in all aspects of the county. Right now I see a lot of the same looking people. I think we can encourage diverse talent and faces in, first of all, in government agencies. I see that we've done the implicit bias training is optional. I think I would make that mandatory, just because it's a good thing for everybody to know and be part of. So those are two things for starters. I think I would definitely hit on.
Okay, and Mr. Nehring, that question again, what should be our county's plan to deal with existing or potential racial inequities?
Well, I think one of the things that's important, we were all horrified to watch the murder of George Floyd. One of the things that's really important is that we acknowledge that racism and hatred is not just an issue in other areas of the country, but it exists here in Snohomish County as well. I'm thinking in particular of a couple of just recent incidents in which there were death threats made to students of color in the Marysville School District. And I've been working with those families for several months now, the victims' families. And it's just awful to see that so close to home, and especially with our youth. There's also been instances of swastikas being painted under overpasses in Edmonds and Tulalip. And so I think it's really important we acknowledge that the issues of racism and hatred are alive and well, and they're here in the county. They're not just in other areas. I was proud to walk in the March Against Racism in Marysville that was led by the Black Student Union. And I think it's also important that we put our money where our mouth is. So for example, I've been a champion of, with a portion of our American Rescue Plan Act dollars, putting some of those funds into a no hate campaign to try to address the issues that we have here in Snohomish County.
Thank you. All right, and now we come to our final question where you will both be allowed 90 seconds to answer. And we'll start that one with Mr. Nehring. And here is the question. What additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of the community?
Well, one thing I'd like to highlight is that local government is really where the rubber meets the road. The issues that we work on at the local level are the ones which have a direct impact on all of our day-to-day lives. And I think, sometimes it can be really difficult to not be discouraged by some of the divisiveness that we witness from both sides at the federal level and even increasingly at the state level. But working in local government for the last 4 years has really given me a lot of hope. On the vast majority of issues, like I mentioned earlier, we've been able to come together in a bipartisan manner to work on topics from homelessness and addiction to job growth to budgeting to environmental stewardship, among others. And, I've had the opportunity over the past year or so to join Councilmember Mead in a series of classroom visits and town halls, which have been organized by high school students throughout the county. And if there's one thing that our discussions with these students has taught me, it's that our next generation truly values civil discourse and respecting others, even in the midst of political disagreement. And that just gives me a lot of hope for our future. And I'm proud to have a track record of working across the aisle to find some of these common sense solutions for our community. And I hope to continue that work if I'm reelected to the county council. Thank you.
Thank you. And last time around, Ms. Ng-A-Qui, same question. What additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of the community?
Yeah, we're just as far as the growth, I think that's the biggest concern. The way we're growing, I know that, and then the jobs that we're going to bring in. I know Amazon is going to be a big contributor in the next several years, and they need to be able to provide jobs that are going to help our community and not take away from the residents here. We need to plan around. They're going to have a huge impact on the airport and stuff over there, so that's something that I think the council is really going to have to work diligently to make sure we do that right. And then all the growth around that, the infrastructure right now, like I said, you can hardly get into Smoky Point and it's only going to get worse. We need to improve those roads. We need to provide sidewalks and increase our mass transit and have people be able to ride bikes and stuff so so everyone doesn't have to be in a car sitting in traffic for hours and hours a day, and that increases pollution and frustration and accidents and everything. So, but that's one thing I would finish with, and I know that I think we can do a good job. I think everybody on here is very capable of handling our issues.
Thank you so much. Thanks to you both. It's hard to give your ideas in a minute or a minute and a half, and you guys both did a great job. Thank you so much. We thank you for joining us and for running for office. A recording of this forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and YouTube channel. You would find the links at LWV League of Women Voters snoho.org. We encourage you to explore, the listeners, to explore additional information about these candidates and other candidates. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet will be mailed to residences starting October 13th. Vote411.org, which is sponsored by the League, is another great source for nonpartisan voting information. And finally, the general election ballots will be mailed on October 14th, and Election Day is November 2nd. Please vote. This concludes our candidate forum. Again, thank you for everybody for participating and all of you listening for joining us.